What if the most important material in human history isn't gold or iron, but the very dirt beneath our feet? What if the same substance that armed our earliest ancestors in the Stone Age is the very same substance that now powers our entire global civilization, connecting billions of people through invisible networks? This is the story of silicon, the element that more than any other has been our silent partner in the journey from stone tools to smartphones, hiding in plain sight as humble sand and rock. Our story begins not in a laboratory, but in the echoing expanse of the Paleolithic, perhaps as far back as 3.3 million years ago, as evidenced by archaeological finds in Kenya. Here, early hominids made a profound discovery by striking one dull stone against another. They found that certain rocks, flint, chert, and obsidian, fractured in a unique and predictable way, leaving behind a razor-sharp edge. This property, known as conchoidal fracturing, is the signature of silicon dioxide, or silica, the compound that makes up these stones. This wasn't just a rock. It was the birth of human technology. Imagine a Neanderthal napper, sitting for hours, their mind focused, their hands scarred. They weren't just chipping a stone. They were reading the silicon within it, visualizing the hand axe or the spear point hidden inside. Their survival, and the survival of their clan, depended on this intimate understanding of silica. For over 99% of human history, these silicon-based tools were the dominant technology on Earth, the indispensable instruments for hunting, butchering, and building. But silicon's versatility was only just beginning to unfold. As humans settled into the first great civilizations along the rivers of Mesopotamia and Egypt, they found a new magic in the earth. Around 5000 BCE, they began firing clay, a complex aluminosilicate, to create pottery. This single innovation transformed society, allowing for the long-term storage of grain, the preservation of water, and the trading of olive oil and wine, fueling the first cities. But the sands of the desert held an even greater secret. Mesopotamian and Egyptian artisans, perhaps by accident when firing pottery, discovered that heating silica-rich sand with plant ash and lime could create a magical, translucent substance, glass. The early finds, like the Egyptian faience beads from around 4000 BCE, show they first created an opaque blue-green glaze, a proto-glass prized more than many gemstones. By 1500 BCE, they were crafting hollow glass vessels. However, it was the Roman Empire, around the 1st century CE, that democratized silicon's new form. The invention of glassblowing, as documented by Pliny the Elder, turned glass from a royal luxury into a common good. Suddenly, silicon offered transparency. Windows lit the dark interiors of Roman villas, and clean, inert glass vessels held liquids without the taste of clay or metal. A revolution in daily life built quite literally on sand. The Romans also harnessed silicon on a monumental scale by mixing volcanic ash from regions like Pozzuoli, ash that is highly siliceous, with lime and rubble. They created opus caementitium, or Roman concrete. This remarkable material, which could set even underwater, was stronger and more flexible than simple stone masonry. It gave them the power to build the enduring aqueducts that carried water for miles, the massive harbors that anchored their trade, and the majestic unreinforced dome of the Pantheon, which still stands today as a testament to silicon's structural power. After Rome's fall, this specific knowledge was lost for a time, but silicon's story continued in the soaring ambitions of the Middle Ages. The great Gothic cathedrals of Europe, like Chartres or Notre Dame, were profound statements of faith written in silicon. Their massive walls and flying buttresses were carved from sandstone and granite, but their true glory lay in their stained glass. Guilds of artisans, whose techniques were jealously guarded secrets, learned to mix metallic oxides, cobalt for blue, gold for red, into the molten silica. They were not just building windows, they were painting with light, transforming the stone interiors into ethereal divine spaces. This mastery of glass, this ability to grind and shape silicon dioxide, would eventually spark the scientific revolution. In the 17th century, it was silicon, carefully polished into lenses by men like Galileo Galilei, that allowed humanity to gaze outward and shatter the old models of the cosmos. At the same time, Antony van Leeuwenhoek's silicon lenses revealed the teeming microscopic world, an invisible universe in a single drop of water. For all this time, humanity used silicon in its compound forms, but we didn't know the element itself. It was simply flint, quartz, or earth. In 1787, the great chemist Antoine Lavoisier theorized that this common, siliceous earth was likely the oxide of a new, unknown metallic element. The quest to isolate it obsessed chemists. Finally, in 1824, the Swedish chemist Jöns Jacob Berzelius succeeded. By painstakingly heating potassium silicon with potassium fluorosilicate in a crucible. He isolated a new dark brown powder. He named it silicon from the Latin silex, meaning flint. For decades, this newly discovered element remained a laboratory curiosity. It was brittle, dull, and far less useful than iron or steel. Its true revolutionary potential lay dormant, waiting for humanity to ask a completely new kind of question. That question was answered in the humming, pressurized silence of Bell Laboratories in December 1947. Scientists John Bardeen, Walter Brattain, and William Shockley were not studying geology. They were studying quantum physics. They were investigating a strange class of materials called semiconductors, substances that weren't good conductors like copper and not good insulators like glass. Their material of choice? First germanium and then, crucially, silicon. They discovered that by introducing microscopic, calculated impurities into a crystal of hyperpure silicon, a process called doping, they could precisely control the flow of electricity, turning it on and off with a tiny electrical signal. The point contact transistor was born. This tiny silicon switch, smaller than a fingernail, replaced the bulky, hot, and unreliable vacuum tube that had powered all early electronics. It was a momentous shift, but the true revolution came a decade later. In 1958 and 59, two engineers, Jack Kilby at Texas Instruments and Robert Noyce at Fairchild Semiconductor, working independently, devised a way to put multiple transistors, along with other components like resistors and capacitors, onto a single monolithic chip of silicon. This was the integrated circuit, the microchip. This invention didn't just change technology, it reshaped human existence. An entire region in Northern California, once filled with apricot orchards, was transformed into Silicon Valley, the epicenter of a new global economy built on processing information. The human story of silicon was no longer the Stone Age, napper struggling against the elements. It was the engineer in a clean room, clad in a white bunny suit to protect the silicon from the tiniest speck of human dust. The new challenge was a struggle against the laws of physics, a quest to etch ever smaller, ever faster pathways onto slivers of sand, doubling our computing power every 2 years in a relentless pursuit known as Moore's Law. This new industry required the most chemically pure substance humans had ever manufactured, monocrystalline silicon, 99.9999% pure. The demand was astronomical, fueling a multi-billion-dollar industry dedicated to melting and growing massive, perfect crystals from humble quartz sand, only to slice them into the wafers that now underpin every aspect of modern life. Some historians suggest our entire species' journey can be read through this one ubiquitous element. We valued silicon first for its hardness, which gave us the sharp edge to master our physical environment. We valued it next for its transparency, which gave us the lens to master light and reveal the invisible, from microbes to galaxies. And finally, we value it for its unique electrical properties, which give us the chip to master information itself. From the first hand axe that stored the idea of a tool, to the glass that held the first data of the microscopic world, to the microchip that now stores the totality of human knowledge and connects us across the globe, silicon has been our constant silent medium. It is the canvas upon which we have drawn our civilization, the element that more than any other reflects our own relentless evolving ingenuity. It teaches us that human progress is not just about finding new, rare materials, but about finding new genius in the most common substances that have been right under our feet all along. If you love exploring the hidden forces that shaped our world, subscribe for more stories like this.